What does Halo Combat Evolved mean to you? Postums, the community support and engagement coordinator at 343 Industries, tweeted this towards the end of the Halo CE MCC test flight, asking players to consider what CE means to them, but also the various different forms in which players would have experienced CE and how the way of playing may differ entirely from others' favorite experiences. This is really interesting to consider for me. I've been playing Halo CE for a long time, but I've basically never played it on the original Xbox, other than a few times at a friend's house. I never even owned it on Xbox until I was an adult. I got my console for Halo 2 and never saw a reason to go back, especially since I had CE and Custom Edition on PC. In fact, I've just started my first full Xbox playthrough with my wife on stream recently, just to have finally experienced it. Xbox players and purists hold a few things over the PC copy's head, such as the downgraded graphics and a few aspects, something both John Linneman from Digital Foundry and Late Night Gaming have excellent videos covering in depth, and a lack of co-op. But honestly, going back and playing the Xbox copy now, while I'm excited to have experienced it, I do not consider the difference worth the trade-off for the abysmal frame rate, especially in co-op, and it being so dark that we had to crank up my TV's brightness in order to really see anything. But it's really fascinating to consider that there are so many ways for players to have developed relationships with a single game. The OG Xbox release with co-op campaign but no online play and thus only split screen and LAN for multiplayer. The Gearbox PC port with crazy support for displays, frame rates, online play, never-ending mod and customization support with a full separate custom edition release with a map editor even, and even a full update in 2014 to modernize it a bit and support it once GameSpy went down. Or players who started on Xbox 360 with Combat Evolved Anniversary and the twist on Reach's multiplayer, or on Xbox One with MCC itself. There's so many different angles and sets of experiences coming together. I can't sit here and invalidate anyone else's experiences or say that there's a right or wrong way to experience the game. I am surprised how much of the population only played Halo on Xbox and thus have expectations that match what many of us PC players might consider to be a completely broken setup. But what I can do is discuss what exactly Halo Combat Evolved means to me. Halo Combat Evolved and Halo Custom Edition kept me involved in PC gaming when I didn't have computers capable of running much else. It may have been a little demanding on the Windows XP machines that it released for on year one, but not more than a couple years later, it became one of the easiest games for me to run, at least from that time period. So much so, in fact, that just a few years later in high school, my classmates and I had dozens of copies that we kept on flash drives to play portably on all of the school lab computers, creating some pretty major LAN parties without our teachers knowing. It was one of the easiest games to drop in and set up to play at a moment's notice. I still have 2 of my physical copies, and I do want to try to hunt down a copy of the Mac version at some point as well, just to add to my collection. Halo was one of my first experiences with real high frame rate gaming too. Well, there's a lot of discussion with the issues of interpolating frame rates past 60 FPS for cutscenes and etc., especially for MCC, but these simply were not a major issue on a patched up copy of CE on PC, especially on CRTs. I spent the first few years playing the game on default settings. I did not know any better, but I distinctly remember playing around with the settings one day on my grandma's PC and a 70 or 90 Hz CRT and changing the graphics from 30 FPS to no VSync and feeling just how incredible everything ran at the smoother, higher refresh rate. I tried showing my dad, super excited about how smooth it felt, but he didn't really have a clue what I was talking about. It was the same game to him. Even to this day, you can boot up a vanilla CE install even on a 100 Hz ultra-wide monitor and get playing. But you'll want a mod or two to fix the FOV and make it a little bit more enjoyable. Another memory I hold dear of Halo CE was the hours upon hours I spent downloading custom maps and content from halomods.org and halomaps.org at my mom's work. She worked at a local college, and their computer lab's internet connection was blazing fast compared to the dial-up and DSL that we had at home. So I'd take a flash drive, external hard drive, anything I could get, and queue up as many maps as I could download while I was there so that I could experience them at home. I probably owe them so much money for bandwidth. I hope they're doing okay. We'll come back to this topic. So what is Halo CE to me? CE is a beautiful, open yet linear campaign that I can play through over and over and over again and always feel like it's something new. Yes, even the silent cartographer. I never got into speedrunning, but just normal playthroughs on the various difficulties, I can do it once a year, twice a year, it doesn't matter. CE is also just Halo to me, which I will refer to it as moving forward. Given that CE stands for both Combat Evolved and Custom Edition, it always gets confusing anyway. Halo is crazy 32-player, long-lasting capture the flag matches on Danger Canyon that contain their own extensive narratives about the vehicle fights through the canyon, sneaky sniper missions along the ridge, the hard pushes through the tunnels, stories and matches that rival even what Battle Royale experiences provide today. Halo is the insane ship battles on boarding action that feels like a scene out of Star Wars. Halo is running around with shotguns on Chiron TL-34, just hoping to find a place to hide long enough for your shields to recharge. Halo is spending hours upon hours running around Death Island, flying in the Banshee, sniping those running around looking for something to do, pistoling the poor tank drivers that don't realize they have no protection, driving out in the water as far as you can go. Some say there are still some in those waters driving today. Can we just appreciate how the PC release got these massive maps based on campaign levels that provided such amazing big player count experiences online? You aren't doing that on Xbox. Halo is always returning to Blood Gulch for a bit of comfort food, often finding the modded servers that allow you to get above the map to do crazy cross-map tank fights or sneaky sniper routes, getting all of your killing spree medals by spawn sniping blue team off of their base before finally getting taken out.
Oh my god!
Halo is competing on Chill Out, racing to make the jump for the rockets first. Halo is being blown away by just how huge Timberland is, having incredible vehicle chases, sniper missions, and lone wolf excursions through what felt like the biggest forest you had ever experienced in a video game at that time.
Change my gamer tag to
Alex?
Oh god.
Holy shit! That was amazing!
I killed myself in the fucking what?
Halo is logging into that one weird server, which would host Jeffersonville, or however you're supposed to say that insane map name, and being confused by where everything is on the map because it only showed up once in a blue moon.
Oh hey, it's Facing Worlds, but Halo.
Well,
Oh, this
time.
actually feels, this is like what Narrows was based off of. Holy shit. I had no idea.
Nerd discovers video game today at 11.
This is what Narrows was based on.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, in hindsight, with Narrows being one of my favorite Halo 3 maps, maybe I should have appreciated this map a little bit more in its heyday. Halo is getting the sniper on Damnation first so you could control the top of the map for some amazing kill streaks. Halo is getting spawn killed over and over and over on Hang'em High because, shit man, it's Hang'em High. Halo is always wondering what is up with that map Infinity, but it always being too big to have a cohesive match on it. Halo is avoiding Longest because grenade spam is hell. Halo is falling in love with Sidewinder and all of the amazing missions that can happen in it. Vehicle fights out on the ice physics itself that as your Warthog just slides in the wrong direction, narrowly avoiding tank shots or sometimes not, or sneaking around with snipers to try to get the upper hand on the silly buffalo that run through the tunnels basically as a meat grinder. Speaking of ice fields, man, what a wonderful map. More ice sliding, multiple lanes, the power struggle for the bridge, the tank dodging in the valley. Ugh, so good. I have fond memories of this map. Crazy game types on Prisoner, grenade spam on Rat Race, Halo offered so much. Halo is intense pistol fights and spawn manipulation on Derelict, actually taking a brief moment to be competitive for a few. That's the thing that, I think, separates Halo PC players from OG Xbox players. You could try to be competitive in CE on PC, and you could always care about the outcome of matches, but you couldn't take the game too seriously. We didn't have the 2v2, 4v4, hyper-competitive accuracy to pinnock matches that you see in console matchmaking or MLG LANs. I'm sure there were people who only played LAN for this purpose and competed this way, but this was not how the online play was. This game was of a different era, a better one in many respects, where we connected not via matchmaking, but by means of a server browser, something not often seen today. I recently posted a video talking about my feelings on the esports-driven, hyper-competitive nature of online FPS multiplayer these days, and why I'm not a fan, along with my feelings of how a server browser and a casual or social playlist needs to be combined with the competitive ones for a best overall experience for all. Consider watching that if you haven't. But for us PC folk, we just connected to servers, jumped in the match, and had fun until we needed to get off or change servers. And it was a damn good time. Halo is joining your favorite server every day to chat with your new online friends or try to learn new tricks in the map. Halo is joining clans and chatting with your clan on Xfire, which was my first experience taking and uploading screenshots and video clips before YouTube. In fact, I got my early start on YouTube by re-uploading my clan's Halo clips on Xfire up to YouTube because none of my, clan members really knew how, and that was really cool. Along with this different approach to multiplayer in general, certain aspects of Halo CE's netcode and hit detection online were not great, especially as the years went by, compounded by the servers being full of just so many people and most of us being on DSL or dial-up connections. So while you could focus on the outcome of a match and still be competitive that way, and you could certainly have a good time overall, you're not focused on getting the perfect 3-shot kills or making sure that every shot counts and things like that. It was a casual multiplayer game where your goal was to log in, shoot some dudes, and have fun. Much like what I can get out of Call of Duty 4 today, but not Modern Warfare 2019. This wasn't something that you cared about when you played Halo on PC. You just wanted to play and shoot some dudes. And this is where PC and Xbox divert. The Xbox players played on split screen or LAN. Netcode and hit registration were pretty accurate. Matches were vanilla and sterile, IMO. This is why it was such a culture shock when I first played CE on MCC on Xbox One, coming from PC background, to having these hardcore death fests on Longest or Prisoner or Rat Race. These were game modes that I had played before, but never like this. Most of my experience with CE on the MCC Xbox copy were simply not fun. It didn't match my, 15, 17 years of experience with CE at the time. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I enjoyed. I'm still not sure how anyone enjoys some of this, to be honest. Combine that with many, base problems that supposedly were part of CE's core vanilla settings, like power-ups and weapon spawns being every minute, and the weird issue of each match starting with mixed team spawns and the respawns generally being bad, which has persisted since MCC's release in 2014, still baffles me. It just makes so much of the core matchmaking experience on Halo CE MCC, just too many letters, holy cow. It just makes it a miserable experience for me. And this is where I worry about how the MCC PC port could live up to the long, established legacy of Halo CE on PC today. The servers aren't as populated as they once were. Many of the cool custom maps are not as commonly hosted, so it's hard to go in and show exactly what was experienced at the time. But many of these issues just weren't a problem on PC. Between the server browser rarely starting a match at its actual beginning, and custom servers all tweaking the rules, spawns, etc. to fix these problems, these quirks that feel like glaring experience-breaking problems in the MCC version were just basically never experienced on PC. Again, I've been playing for more than half of my life, and I don't think I've ever realized that auto-look centering on vehicles was even a thing. It had always been turned off or patched or modded out on PC.
It looks so realistic when you're in there, like you're looking back over your shoulder.
I know,
and stuff.
it's amazing. Wait, does my guy look behind me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you're checking mirrors at least.
And ultimately, the best part about Halo on PC's experience was that most of the time was not even spent running the executable that shipped on the disk at all. Instead, all the good servers, communities, game modes, they were all on Custom Edition. This was a free expansion of sorts, released by Bungie and Gearbox alongside a full map editor and so on. In some ways, it was far more elaborate than Forge could ever be, as maps could be made completely custom from the ground up. But accessibility was a problem. Heck, I always wanted to get into it and make my own maps. I still want to make maps with AI enemies, similar to the original high ground design from Halo 3 with the turrets and the different layers. And I wanted modes where you could have different tiers of players. So one team member is, say, a hunter shooting the big fuel roddy cannon, but other players are grunts or elites, and you have a war that way. But that kind of thing has always been a little bit over my head for the time and energy investment that I could make in it, especially as a kid, and I just didn't have the time or patience to learn and build such things, especially when all I really wanted to do was play the game. It was nowhere near as easy as Pokemon ROM hacking back then. But man, the community went wild. with these tools. Back then, modding on PC was the default, the standard, the expected. That's what PC is for, basically. Devs provided the tools for this, and communities flourished. I hope we can get back to a time of that again. Anyway, Custom Edition allowed for game servers that had super custom and tweaked rules, variables, and custom maps, along with, modded in content. I have great memories of races on Yo-Yo Rast Island, or exploring the massive, aptly named, Huge Ass with Reach assets, ports of popular Halo 2, 3, Reach, and even Halo 4 maps, plus generally fun maps meant to fit the Halo universe. There's even maps that meant to replace the Halo style entirely for Call of Duty or Counter-Strike-like appearances.
Wear your seatbelts, kids.
There's so much possibility and potential. I'm pretty sure there were at least a few entire careers made from some of the modding and map teams' work in this game. The cool thing is that all of it is still preserved, at least for now. I really hope I can get a mirror of it saved at some point on halomaps.org, even with top X lists by year for a long time. There was some custom stuff for Halo 2 Vista as well, but I never really got that working back in the day. But the custom content didn't stop at multiplayer maps. There were mods to the story, experiments with tech for controlling Covenant enemies, revealing Master Chief's face when he takes off his helmet, well, and entire custom story campaigns too. And that's not counting the full campaign remakes like SPV3 and so on. I've always liked the idea of these, but the visual design is very off-putting to me, and I feel like a lot of the original feeling was lost, as is the case with CEA's campaign. Halo had a massive legacy that, frankly, is at risk of being erased or at least forgotten with MCC coming to PC. Many players had already moved to the Xbox version or to other games in the time of low updates and so on for Halo CE. And now Halo CE has just surprise launched on MCC days after the flight ended, without support for any of this built in. I don't expect the map editor to be brought over, but support for custom maps and mods, or at least the maps to just work, as well as a server browser, are a must IMO. And if the maps import over cleanly, then they can just, modders can just use the older map tools if desired. And that's not even touching the weird MCC specific bugs that still linger, like the pistol and sniper getting less accurate the higher your frame rate goes. Like, what? That was never an issue before on PC. I know these will get fixed, but I'm just confused why this launch happened at all. Reach had like 3 or more flights. CE got 1 with no real time to fix anything. I realize that the crew manning MCC is probably very small, but I'm really concerned as to the legacy it's creating and leaving for 343 Industries at this point. MCC, while likely originally thought of by Microsoft execs as an easy cash grab to convert people to new hardware, was presented as a preservation of a franchise that so many people hold dear. A continuation of Halo's legacy on every new platform, so we could keep playing modernized copies of our favorite experiences. And they botched it. Or systematically it fell apart at least. I'm not assigning blame and I don't want to come off this way, but as a project designed to preserve everyone's favorite games in a franchise under one roof, to truly present Halo at its best, MCC did not deliver. 2014 did not give us what we were promised. It was years before MCC was truly back on its best form on Xbox, and so many issues still make it a weird foreign replacement for what we used to play. You know how sometimes TV shows get re-released on Netflix or Blu-ray for widescreen, but they didn't bother doing a good job? Either the whole thing is cropped, cutting out entire jokes like The Simpsons, or an open mat is applied with stand-ins, production gear, and open sets left in like in Friends? Or even worse, tons of time and money spent reframing and yet still leaving in mistakes and denoising Buffy to the extent that it just looks unwatchable? Sometimes that feels like MCC. I made a video about this a while back, and BBK Dragoon made an excellent follow-up to it, specifically about Halo Reach. The fact is, however great on a technical level MCC on Xbox may be, the multiplayer in those games does not really come close to representing the actual experiences we had playing those games in their heydays. To this day, persist quirks like CE's nonsense spawn system for players and baffling game type and map combinations that frequently made Reach miserable early on. I can boot up MCC and feel like I'm being given a collection of my favorite games ready for me to rock like I did in 2009, and yet the experience I actually get by playing it is versus actually just booting up the original games, even in back compat mode on my Xbox One, are wildly different. The same thing is happening here with Combat Evolved, but worse. Without the rest of the experience preserved at some point, it's basically a completely different game in multiplayer. Again, I get that they're a small team focusing on this. I get that there are individuals on that team and at 343 that truly want MCC to be the best Halo experience you can have. I get that there are limitations on each step of the process, and the system that they're working in may prevent this from being the case, or at least being so in a timely manner. But at this point, 6 years after the launch of Halo the Master Chief Collection, the legacy 343 Industries has created so far is not one of preserving Halo and giving players what they want, but of putting out something that looks like Halo, smells like Halo, but never quite lives up to the name. And that's pretty upsetting, especially as the original games taper off in playability more and more. I want to love MCC. Basically, every single complaint I've ever had about it is 100% fixable. And I know that there are individuals that want to fix it. I don't blame 343 directly, nor any individual there. And I believe that there's a timeline that exists where I might see the day it's all preserved appropriately. I'm really hoping that MCC is a long-haul idea, with Xbox's pushing of all the games being playable moving forward across all their consoles and the release on PC. I'm hoping that things move slow because 343 doesn't want this to be a one-and-done release, but something that is preserved for years and years to come. But I also don't understand why the releases are being rushed out when, as blunt as it may sound, they are unfinished. In the era of early access and betas going on for years, I think the community would have been happy to have an early access MCC where we get all the games first and they get fixed up and finished later for a full release. But marketing, investors, and this new Twitch-reliant momentum factor for game cycles that I cannot stand probably prevents this from being an option. My hope, my desperate, serious desire, is that they are actually able to finish this up, to fix everything and release what we expect before the project gets dropped, before the team has to move on to something else, which is a real risk. And it's frustrating to feel like that's a stretch goal when there are more things that I want to see. I want to see additional customization and content releases that go beyond what was originally available. I want to see games get more interactivity and to see the full potential of this collection that it can achieve. But I'll just hope for what I considered originally to be the minimum for this release to even happen. Halo Online looked like an awesome release, and I'm really disappointed that it didn't pan out and that it was never intended for the US in the first place. I would have loved to have seen that come to light. It's a cool amalgamation of many of the great Halo games built specifically for PC. I wasn't a fan of the El Dorito Halo 3 lookalike at all whatsoever, but I loved the core Halo Online concept. Heck, add that to MCC. I don't want to seem like I'm ending on a negative note. We're only 1/3 of the way through MCC's releases on PC. We've easily got a year or two before this whole thing is done, and updates will happen along the way. As the custom content community figures out the new sandbox, lots and lots of great stuff will come out, and I hope that I have another 10 or 15 years to enjoy these games with my friends or with my child coming soon. Halo 3, my favorite Halo, has yet to come to PC. I worry about how the community will react to the projectile system, but I'm excited for it to feel good on mouse, as I've still not gotten used to the Xbox One controller compared to 360, and at this point I'm rusty on the sticks anyway. And even if these flaws are left in, even if it still feels unfinished, as much as I hate to admit it, it will become all we've got, and live on anyway. I will enjoy my time with it, and as I finish this very video script, I cannot wait to jump in and play more with friends. I just want to be less frustrated at things that I don't experience when bouncing between Custom Edition as I experience them on MCC is all. Halo CE, to me, means an incredible sandbox of open, explorative, but also neatly packaged story, limitless potential and multiplayer experiences to have, and creativity spewing out of every custom map. It's playing with friends, not taking it too seriously, and having a damn good time. What does Halo CE mean to you? Did you play it on PC back in the day? Comment below. I'm EposVox, I'll see you in the games. Follow me on twitch.tv/EposVox, maybe join us on Discord. If you want to play on original custom edition with some modded maps, eposvox.com/Discord. See you later.